I was the pampered young heir of a conglomerate, unable to lift a finger or carry a heavy load. I transmigrated into a famine year and became the village's most notorious loafer. Looking at the flour bin that even the rats found too poor to visit, and the dry fields that wouldn't yield to a hoe, I felt half dead inside. In order to eat, I sold myself for a silver dollar to the butcher family at the head of the village to be a male bride to two brothers. But neither of them liked me. The eldest had the one that got away in his heart, no matter how much you pretend you aren't him. The second brother complained that my backside wasn't soft enough and that I couldn't bear children. What a bad bargain. What use are you? Seeing how much they despised me, I knew they would sweep me out the door sooner or later. So I secretly used another silver dollar to sell myself to the hunter at the end of the village. Inside the room, sunlight spilled onto the table. I was kneeling by the table, gasping for breath from exhaustion. I muttered unhappily, "How much longer? I'm dying of fatigue." Hearing my words, Aiden Hawthorne's eyes, filled with desire, snapped open. "It hasn't been that long and you can't take it. All that oatmeal went to waste." He flung my hand away in disgust and went to finish himself off on the side. I shook my sore arm, my expression uglier than if I were crying. God damn it, what exactly did this young master do wrong to deserve such punishment? My name is Caleb Hayes. I was originally the young master of a modern conglomerate family. I didn't expect that just by going clubbing, I would bounce myself right into a famine year. I became the village's famous layabout, living in a thatched hut with bare walls. The pantry didn't have a single grain of rice. Even the rats turned up their noses at the poverty. After 20 years as a young master, my ability to spend money was something even my old man had to admire. But when it came to hands-on skills, aside from the paper airplanes my mom forced me to fold in kindergarten, the only thing I could do was dress myself and wipe my own butt. I had self-awareness. For a useless little thing like me, surviving in this famine year where everyone ate dirt and bark was difficult. Just as I was about to starve to death, the butcher family at the head of the village bought me for a silver dollar. The good news, I wouldn't starve. The bad news, I was to be the male wife to their two sons. The worst news. Both Hawthorne brothers hated me. The eldest, Rowan Hawthorne, had someone else in his heart. After I entered the door, he never gave me a pleasant look. He never touched me. I breathed a sigh of relief. The second brother, Aiden Hawthorne, felt my body wasn't as soft and charming as a woman's, so he didn't want to touch me either. Only when he really couldn't hold it back would he grab my hand for a session. We are all men. I didn't think a little touching was a big deal. After all, back in the day, I used to compare sizes with my bros to see who could pee the furthest. I breathed two sighs of relief. As a straight man, this was my bottom line. My only requirement was, as long as I didn't lose my virginity, losing anything else was fine. Aiden seemed to be enjoying himself, letting out muffled groans from time to time. Caleb Hayes, hearing my name in his low moan, I snapped back to reality. I looked back at him in disbelief. Aiden, however, showed no sign of anything unusual, as if that call was just my hallucination. The object in his hand caught my eye. It was the underwear I had just changed out of last night. My face instantly exploded with red, so ashamed I couldn't utter a complete sentence. How could you use? Aiden had always complained that my rear wasn't soft enough, that I couldn't have kids, that I was a bad bargain. I thought he was straight, I didn't expect. I couldn't help but pull my clothes tighter and silently moved a bit further away from him. Seeing this, Aiden glanced at me mockingly. What are you pretending for? Didn't you enter our family just for me and my brother? Let me give you some advice. Don't waste your efforts. Eldest brother only has Julian in his heart. If you really can't stand the loneliness, I wouldn't mind helping you out, but don't get the wrong idea. I only touch you because I don't want to waste that silver dollar. With that, he unnaturally turned his face away. Waste efforts? What efforts? Heaven is my witness, I just wanted to eat your family's grain. Suddenly, there was a loud banging on the door from outside. Rowan's voice came through, suppressed anger in his tone. What time is it? Are we working today or not? The Hawthorne family made a living slaughtering pigs and selling meat. Although times were hard in the famine, they were much better off than the farmers scraping food from the ground. Rowan had been sharpening his knife in the yard since early morning. The SHHH sound got more impatient with every stroke. Seeing me walk out of the room, he threw the knife, stabbing it into the ground. It scared me so much I shrank my neck. If I didn't know he was about to slaughter a piglet later, I would have thought he wanted to kill me to save on rations. What does it look like, lazing in the room in broad daylight? There was an imperceptible anger in his tone. Did he think I wanted to be there? It was his brother who forcibly dragged me in. But looking at the knife in the ground and his fists the size of sandbags, I wisely didn't talk back. I understand, it won't happen again. Seeing me so obedient, his expression softened slightly. Food is on the table. After you eat, go cut some hogweed early. I agreed, but as I was about to leave, he stopped me. His expression suddenly turned extremely ugly as he stared fiercely at the clothes on my body. Who allowed you to wear his clothes? I glanced at what I was wearing, a semi-old azure shirt. Martha Hawthorne gave it to me yesterday. It turned out to be Julian Croft's old clothes. I secretly rolled my eyes. If not for the food, who would care to pretend to be his one that got away? Julian was the Hawthornes' adopted son. A year ago, his biological parents found him and took him back. Martha realized her son's feelings and, afraid he couldn't let go, bought me, who looked 30 or 40% like Julian, just to be his substitute. Rowan was furious. Take it off, he couldn't even wait and reached out to grab me directly. His hand, like an iron rake, landed on my shoulder, feeling like it was going to crush my shoulder blade. It hurt so much that tears swirled in my eyes, and I felt incredibly wronged. Damn it, when had this young master ever suffered such torture? In the modern world, I had my elder brothers protecting me and my parents spoiling me. If I wanted the stars in the sky, they would pluck them for me. But now, for a mouthful of food, I was being trampled like this. I wanted to go home. Sob, sob, sob. Rowan stunned for a moment, the force in his hand lightening slightly. But he still said firmly, take it off. Don't make me say it a third time. Aiden, coming out of the room, saw the situation and walked over in a few steps. He grabbed Rowan's arm. Brother, just let it go. He's already worn the clothes. Even if he takes them off, Julian would find them dirty and wouldn't want them anymore. Rowan let go, and I slumped onto the ground. I didn't know how many times he had lost his temper at me because of Julian. At first, it was because I stayed in Julian's room. The Hawthorne family wasn't a wealthy household, and rooms were limited. After Martha brought me back, she initially settled me in his old room. When Rowan found out, he threw a huge tantrum. He threw all my things out the door. If not for my face that somewhat resembled Julian's, he definitely wouldn't have let me enter the Hawthorne door. Looking at how things were now, freeloading at the Hawthorne house wasn't going to work much longer. With the brothers' attitude toward me, sooner or later, they would sweep me out. But fortunately, I had a third cheap husband, like the Hawthorne brothers. My other husband was the hunter at the end of the village, Gideon Forrester. Good-looking, great body, and generous. The only bad thing was that his name was very similar to someone I hated. Life at the Hawthornes was not easy. Every day it was either scratchy oatmeal or wild vegetable cakes. After eating this for a month straight, I felt like I was turning green from starvation. My blood tasted like bitter wild vegetables. That day on the mountain. When I was about to faint from hunger, I suddenly smelled the scent of meat. Looking closely, a burly man was sitting under a tree ahead, eating his rations. It was a meat pie. At the Hawthornes, meat had to be sold to the wealthy landlords in town in exchange for grain. Every meal, they only cooked some offal that no one wanted, but even those, Martha would only save for her 2 sons. As the money pit bought into the family, I wasn't qualified to eat it. I swallowed my saliva but didn't dare to go up. But from that day on, my eyes involuntarily stuck to Gideon. Whenever I had nothing to do, I went up the mountain to find him. Then I secretly followed behind him. Even if I couldn't eat it, looking was nice too, my big meat pie. Big muscles. I didn't know when Gideon arrived next to me, but he suddenly pinned me against a tree trunk. His muscular arm locked around my neck, and his lean, powerful waist pressed against me. His rugged face was gloomy, as if he was ready to hit someone. Why are you following me? Why else? Of course, I wanted to eat meat. As Gideon got closer, the smell of meat on him got stronger. For a glutton like me, the desire to eat outweighed everything else. I forgot to be afraid. I suddenly lunged forward, stuck out my tongue, and licked the corner of his mouth, nimbly rolling some meat crumbs into my mouth. Delicious. Gideon turned pale with shock and pushed me away forcefully. What are you doing? No one noticed that his ears were so red they were about to drip blood. Driven by the determination to eat meat, I spoke boldly. Gideon, do you want a wife? Selling myself to the Hawthorne family was originally just to eat. Selling to one family is selling. Selling to 2 families is also selling. If I sold myself to a few more, I would have more food to eat. Besides, Gideon had meat. Gideon stood blankly. What did you say? He knew about me being sold to the Hawthorns as a male bride. He didn't expect me to say something like that to him. Gideon didn't react for a moment, staring at me blankly. My cheeks burned. For the first time, I felt my skin was really thick. Forget it, if he doesn't agree, I'll just leave. I looked regretfully at the cloth bag holding rations hanging at his waist, preparing to leave dejectedly. He suddenly grabbed me. Yes, that day, Gideon gave me the meat pie and a roasted rabbit leg. For the first time, I felt that roasted meat without salt or sauce could be so delicious. I almost cried with emotion. When we parted, Gideon stuffed a silver dollar into my hand. His tone was cold and awkward. What the Hawthorns can give you, I can give you too. I didn't have my own room at the Hawthorne house. Ever since Rowan kicked me out of Julian's room, I took turns sleeping in the brothers' rooms. Tonight it was my turn in Rowan's room. After eating, I went to bed early. Knowing he despised me, I quietly didn't say a word. I wrapped myself in the quilt, pretending to sleep. But my shoulder was burning with pain and I couldn't sleep at all. But as a pauper who couldn't even afford food, let alone a doctor, I couldn't afford medicine. I could only grit my teeth and endure it, cursing the perpetrator hundreds of times in my heart. Rustling sounds came from the bedside, and soon the quilt was pulled open. Rowan suddenly tore at my clothes. I sat up in shock, clutching my clothes. His voice was low, "Don't move." Rowan held a jar of ointment in his hand, seemingly intending to apply medicine to me. How rare for him to actually remember my injury. The marks on my shoulder were terrifyingly purple. A light touch brought a piercing pain. Hiss! I couldn't help but cry out in pain. Rowan's hand paused and his force unconsciously lightened a bit. His mouth was still disdainful. Does it really hurt that much? Julian wasn't as fussy as you. Wasn't he the one who caused the injury? How did he have the nerve to call me fussy? Whatever, I'll just treat it as a dog barking. After applying the medicine, the burning sensation in my shoulder faded. After lying down, I soon became drowsy, until a burning hot chest leaned against my back. I woke up with a start, my sleepiness mostly gone. I hurriedly moved inward, trying not to touch him. But the person behind me leaned in again, and I moved again. Leaned in, moved. After a few times, I was almost stuck to the wall. Rowan grabbed my arm. "Caleb Hayes, what do you mean by this? Is being touched by me that unbearable for you?" By the moonlight, I could see his extremely gloomy face. "What could I mean?" I said stiffly. "It's cold now, I don't want to go outside." Once, because I accidentally touched him while sleeping, Rowan went crazy in the middle of the night and kicked me out of the room. I fed mosquitoes outside all night. Hearing my words, Rowan's body stiffened. He flung me away angrily. "That was so long ago. Is it necessary for you to hold on to it?" My hand was flung against the bed frame, making a loud thud. It hurt so much that physiological tears seeped out of my eyes again. Damn, is he sick? When did I hold on to it? Forget it, since I'm living under someone else's roof. Whatever he says goes. It seems I can't sleep properly tonight. I'd better go outside myself, and later sneak into Aiden's room to sleep. Although Aiden has a poisonous tongue, compared to Rowan's unpredictable temper, at least he wouldn't do something like kicking me out in the middle of the night. Who knew that just as I stepped one foot out, Rowan looked over with a dark face. "What are you doing? I'm going out myself." No need for him to drive me. Rowan's face instantly turned completely black, staring at me hatefully, and then run to find the second brother. On his face, I actually saw a trace of grievance. I quickly dismissed this thought. I must have seen it wrong. But how did he know I wanted to find Aiden? Right, I almost forgot. Last time, because I accidentally damaged a wood carving Julian had played with, he locked me out and wouldn't let me in. So I secretly went to Aiden's room. I didn't expect that Rowan would have a conscience attack that day and open the door to find me in the middle of the night. But I was already asleep in Aiden's blankets. He sulked and didn't speak to me for half a month, but he never stopped me from entering the door again. Rowan was furious, gritting his teeth and shouting, "You are not allowed to go." Sleep, after speaking, he lay down on his own, motionless, really fickle. I sighed silently and pulled back the leg I had stepped out. In my heart I prayed, "May there be another Rowan in heaven." Rowan was still angry. He hadn't paid attention to me for several days. I didn't care. It was best if he didn't come to bother me. It was just that every time I angered these brothers, Martha would dock my rations. See, no food for me again this morning, punishing me to pound rice bran in the yard. The pestle knocked intermittently, but my eyes were gazing eagerly outside the door. When the Hawthorne brothers went out to deliver meat, I would sneak out to find Gideon. Hadn't seen him for a few days. I actually missed him a bit. Missed the braised pork and pigeon soup he made. It's just that lately I don't know what's wrong with him. He likes to gnaw on me like a dog. I gave him a bone, but he didn't want it. Quite annoying. Aiden came over at some point and snatched the pestle from my hand. With the way you are, you won't even break the shells pounding rice all day. Nothing but sarcastic remarks. You try not eating for a day. I was so hungry I didn't have the energy to speak, so I turned my face away and ignored him. I just hoped he would leave quickly and not delay me from finding someone later. Aiden, however, grabbed me and forcibly pulled me into the room. Did he want to? Again. My wrist, which Rowan had bumped, was still throbbing faintly. This beast. Not today, I have no energy. I can't do manual labor. I immediately hid both hands behind my back. But Aiden took 2 eggs out of his pocket, forcibly pulled my arm over, and stuffed them into my hand. He looked at me fiercely with a tiger-like face. Eat, don't starve to death. I froze for a moment. Eggs were rare items nowadays, only to be sold for grain. In all my time at the Hawthorns, they only appeared on the table once. That was during the new year. Of course, there was no share for me. I could only watch them eat. It was Aiden who, while his mother wasn't looking, secretly put some in my bowl with his chopsticks. His tone was mocking. Eat fast. Your drool is about to flow into the bowl. I wolfed them down and looked at him eagerly again. A rare blush appeared on his dark-skinned face. He reached out a hand and pressed it on top of my head, forcibly turning my face away. What are you looking at? Shameless, but when he put his hand down, his fingertips inadvertently rubbed gently against my cheek. The corners of his mouth hooked up slightly. I didn't expect that after a few months, he would secretly get eggs for me again. Honestly, Aiden treated me pretty well. In the Hawthorne family, only he could see that I wasn't eating enough, wasn't sleeping well, and asked if my clothes were warm enough. It's just that he was the ultimate supporter of Rowan and Julian. The warning he gave me most often was, "My brother looks down on you, you'd better not fantasize about him." Truly a bit noisy. Looking at the free-range eggs in my hand, I slurped back my saliva. If it's free, I'll take it. After not eating for a day, 2 eggs went down like stones into the ocean. There was no sign of them at all. I couldn't help licking my lips, wanting to eat more. Turning back, I found Aiden's eyes were red, staring dead at me. That gaze was like a tiger looking at prey. It was truly a bit ferocious. I took a step back. Well, I'll go back to pounding rice. Before the words fell, I was pulled over by him and imprisoned in his arms. His voice was a bit hoarse. "Caleb Hayes, Caleb. Let me rub against you." Feeling the hard thing pressing against my backside, my body stiffened, not daring to move a muscle. When the door was pushed open, both Aiden and I were startled. Rowan stormed in furiously and punched Aiden right away. I wanted to speak, but seeing his ferocious expression, I obediently shut my mouth. Rowan drove me out the door, leaving the 2 brothers alone inside. The room wasn't soundproof. Even standing in the yard, I could hear their conversation clearly. Rowan was surprisingly arguing with Aiden, and it was because of me. Truly incredible. He grabbed Aiden by the collar and warned him. "I said you're not allowed to touch him, how dare you?" Unlike my astonishment, Aiden seemed to know something. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, a cynical look on his face. "You care about him so much, does Julian know?" Mentioning the one that got away, Rowan's body paused for a moment. The anger on his face gradually collapsed. He said in annoyance, "Shame, you don't need to manage my affairs." Aiden laughed. "Brother, perhaps you forgot, he isn't yours alone." Rowan seemed to have a nerve struck, his face becoming darker and darker. He threw a few more punches at Aiden, each one more vicious than the last. Aiden didn't hold back either. They fought back and forth. It wasn't until Martha came back from borrowing lamp oil that she pulled them apart. Martha looked at the shocking injuries on her sons, her heart aching terribly. After all, they were her own sons. She couldn't bear to scold them harshly, so she blamed everything on me. That night I was called for a lecture. She leaned back on one side, pointing to a large basin of beans on the ground. "Sort the Buddha beans, tie the Buddha fate. Recently, the eldest and second have not been peaceful. Tonight, you sort the Buddha beans to get rid of the evil spirits for them." This was a roundabout way of saying I was the evil spirit. It seemed she had a big problem with me, not just her. To be fair, if I were in her shoes, if 2 sons fought like this over a man, I wouldn't be happy either. I could only blame those 2 annoying things, Rowan and Aiden. Why did they have to fight for no reason? In the end, I was the one who suffered. Looking at the basin full of beans, I felt half dead. No sleep for me tonight. I let out a silent, long sigh. Martha bought me back then, counting as saving my life. Otherwise, I would have starved to death long ago. Because of this kindness, I had always respected her. Since she was angry, let her vent this malice. After this, I should leave the Hawthorne family. I grabbed another empty sieve and said to Martha, "Don't worry, I'll finish sorting them." Seeing me agree so readily, Martha swallowed the rest of what she was going to say. She lowered her eyes, nodded, and went into the inner room. I sorted those beans all night until dawn. Squatting all night, my legs and feet were so sore and numb I couldn't stand up. When Martha came over and saw my pale face, she couldn't bear it after all. She sighed faintly. "Go back and rest, you don't have to work today," I called out to her. "Aren't you here to kick me out?" Martha's leaving footsteps paused. Back then, seeing Rowan depressed after Julian left. That's why she bought me back as a substitute. She was also afraid Rowan wouldn't tolerate me, so she dragged Aiden in as a cover. In this way, even if Rowan insisted on driving me away, he would have to get Aiden's consent. But as things stood now, I had become the root of their brotherhood's discord. Martha hid the surprise on her face. "But in this world now, if you stay at home, at least you'll have a bite to eat. But my leaving is the best solution, isn't it?" Martha was speechless, not knowing what to say. I knew that as early as a few months ago, she wanted to kick me out. She just couldn't harden her heart. Martha was a very strong woman and also an excellent mother. After her husband died, ignoring worldly views. She raised 2 children alone by running a meat business. She also adopted the lost Julian. Now she saved me, keeping me from starving. Such a woman was rare to see even in the modern era where women's rights were high. So I didn't want to make things difficult for her. I smiled at her. "Don't worry, I won't starve to death." Seeing her nod, I turned back to pack my things. I didn't actually have many things, just 2 outer garments and 2 undergarments. Couldn't even fill a bundle. This was good. This young master hated carrying things the most. After packing, I took a silver dollar out of my pocket and placed it on the table in the room. The Hawthorne brothers had gone to town to deliver meat and weren't home. Perfect, no one to delay my departure. After stepping out of the Hawthorne's door, I ran forward wildly. "Gideon, my little baby, here I come." Finally felt like life had hope. The bitter days were over. I was going to live a life with meat at every meal. Ha ha ha. Before I could finish laughing, I slammed head on into a solid chest. If not for my quick reaction and sudden braking, my proud nose bridge would have broken. "Did you get hurt?" "Let me see." Hearing Gideon's gentle voice, I knew it was him. Disregarding that we were still on the roadside, I jumped up and wrapped myself around his waist, hugging his neck and shaking him. "Gideon, I'm free." Gideon's smile was like warm sunlight, dazzling me until I was dizzy. I couldn't help but gnaw on him right there. Gideon's body stiffened, and his gaze towards me changed from soft to scorching. He suddenly pulled me close, hoisting me onto his shoulder with one hand. "Hungry? Let's go home." He walked very fast, and I was shaken up and down. Under my soft belly, I could fully feel the exploding muscles on his shoulder. I swallowed my saliva, suddenly feeling a bit scared what was going on. Carried all the way back, as soon as we entered the room, I was pinned against the door. Before I could react, a tongue was stuffed into my mouth, churning up heaven and earth. I couldn't push him away even with both hands. Damn it, was he in such a rush? I couldn't even breathe. My clothes were torn open at some point, and a pair of large, calloused hands moved up and down. When his mouth latched onto my chest, I was still dazed. I only felt a numbness sweep through my body, leaving me without even the strength to shout stop. Forget it, let him be, I guess I'm done for today. I prepared myself to lie flat and be fed, but before the main event, I felt my brain getting fuzzy. Can this kind of thing be so pleasurable that you lose consciousness? Suddenly someone patted my face a few times. "Poppet, wake up." Opening my eyes groggily, I slapped his hand away. "Shut up, I want to sleep, sleepy." I slept until the afternoon. Meeting Gideon's eyes and seeing half his face swollen, I finally realized. I actually fell asleep halfway through the deed. I pulled back the blanket to check. Although there were some marks on my body, I could be sure. My back door was preserved. I smiled awkwardly. Well, I didn't mean to. I really haven't slept all night, I was too sleepy. Gideon brought a bowl of meat porridge and stuffed it into my hands. "Eat more. Once you're full and rested, you won't need to sleep tonight." Fuck the bastard. He doesn't intend to let me off. I brought the porridge to my mouth with the resignation of facing death. I drank 3 large bowls in grief and indignation as a tribute to my soon-to-be-lost virginity. Gideon really was like he said. After dark, he pulled me over and started fiddling with me. Begging for mercy didn't work. He was single-mindedly focused on being a pile driver. I didn't know if the pile broke, but the hole couldn't take it anymore. I really hoped I could faint again, but having slept too much during the day, even though I was too tired to lift a finger, I wasn't sleepy at all. Gideon kissed my eyelids. "What, not full yet?" Seeing his posture to feed me again, I immediately crawled away. "Full any more and I'll vomit." He scooped me back in one go, smiling wickedly. "Then show me." As he spoke, he maliciously pressed on my bloated belly. Feeling a warm current, I quickly pulled the blanket over to wrap myself tightly. "What are you looking at?" "Still looking. I'm talking to you. Look any more and it won't pass censorship." I wasted 3 days like this before I could get out of bed. Gideon went hunting up the mountain, leaving me alone at home. Holding my waist, I took a stroll in the yard. Every step made me want to curse. Sure enough, men are no good. My cute little flower was almost ground into a callus. In the corner of the yard, a few green plants were growing lushly. Haven't been here for a while. I didn't expect Gideon to plant flowers. I reached out to touch them. They were a bit prickly. The small white and purple flowers on top were very cute, but why did they look familiar? I seemed to have seen them in my second brother's lab, looking like the new potato seedlings he meticulously cultivated, and the tall stalk next to it looked like baby corn. I had seen the helper at home processing them. Logically speaking, this era shouldn't have these things yet. Knowing that I was a useless little thing who couldn't tell grains apart, I must have been mistaken. I was just about to get up, but because I pulled on my injury, I almost fell over in pain. Luckily, I was caught by a pair of large hands and pulled into an embrace. "You beast, you know to come back." Before the scolding ended, my voice stopped. The person catching me was actually Rowan. His face was gloomy. "Is this your choice after leaving?" I quickly pushed him away and stood properly. Although our past relationship wasn't glorious, I couldn't pretend not to know him. "Yes, why are you here?" He didn't speak for a long time, just staring dead at me. I felt uncomfortable all over being stared at, like I had swallowed 1,000 peaches whole and was about to have an allergic reaction. I know my mother forced you. If you are willing, I can take you back." Just as I was about to speak, he spoke at the same time. I breathed a sigh of relief. I shook my head at him. "I am not willing. No one forced me. This was my own choice." As soon as the words fell, Aiden stormed in furiously. He reached out to pull me. "Come back with me." In his fury, his grip was immense and I couldn't break free at all. "Let go of me." But Aiden turned a deaf ear, dragging me towards the outside. There was a determination to drag me back even if he died. Helpless, I bit his hand. Aiden still wouldn't let go, just staring with red eyes. He didn't let go until his hand was bitten to bleeding. I looked at him, then looked at Rowan. "Wake up, our relationship is over." Aiden, in extreme anger, actually bit his own lip until it broke, staring at me with eyes about to split. He clenched his fist and swung it at me. I subconsciously closed my eyes until I heard a muffled sound by my ear. Opening my eyes, I saw his fist had smashed into the wall, blood dripping down drop by drop. The three of us were silent, not knowing what to say, and seemingly whatever was said would be futile. I said to Rowan, "Take him and leave." Rowan's lips trembled a few times, and after a long while squeezed out a hoarse "okay." Sending off the Hawthorne brothers, I poured a glass of water to calm my nerves. But just as I drank a mouthful, I was pulled into an embrace by someone rushing in anxiously. Startled, I slapped him. Gideon covered his face, staring at me somewhat pitifully. "You hit me. You actually hit me, ha ha ha. You didn't leave. That's great. You can still hit me." I really wanted to slap him twice more to see if I could slap the water out of his brain, seeing the bloodstains on his shoulder. My heart suddenly tightened, like someone squeezed it. I quickly pulled him over to check. "How did you get hurt?" Gideon smiled. "This is dear blood, not mine." It turned out when he came back, he happened to meet the departing Hawthorne brothers. He was so anxious that he didn't even care about the deer he carried back, threw it directly on the ground, and ran into the house to find me. Gideon processed the deer and prepared a pile of supplements for me. "Deer antler, deer blood, deer whip, these are all for you, supplement well." I rolled my eyes. He didn't want me to supplement. He wanted me to die in bed. Fortunately, he still had some conscience. The following days, he let me rest, my little chrysanthemum, properly. I was comfortable, but Gideon seemed to hold himself back into a sickness. I heard him muttering to himself several times. Every time he liked to squat in the yard. "Can't wait, why hasn't it grown well yet? A bit big." The 18th time I heard it, I really couldn't stand it. That night he slipped out of bed like an aggrieved little wife after I fell asleep, preparing to go to the yard. I hooked his waist with my foot. "Come on, stop dilly-dallying like a broad." Although Gideon was a bit surprised, he still pounced like a hungry wolf. After a few rounds, I was too tired to lift a finger. I thought he would finally settle down. I didn't expect that in the second half of the night, he still got up and ran to squat in the yard mumbling. After this happened a few times, I suspected he had a dog outside. Since it wasn't towards me, it must be towards some other bitch. I had just started living a life with meat to eat and meat to eat. How could I let someone hijack it just like that? I must catch the adulterer in the yard. That night, after showering and lying in bed, seeing my loose nightclothes, Gideon's eyes went straight. He pounced like a beast, gnawing and kissing me. I kicked him away. Don't fuss, I'm annoyed. He soon stuck back on, his hand drilling in at some point. His calloused hand playfully tweaked my nipples, sending a shiver through my body. This time I kicked him directly off the bed. I said, don't fuss. Then I wrapped myself in the quilt, sticking to my bottom line. Tonight I must know who that mistress is. Seeing my resolute attitude, Gideon hung his head, curled up in the corner pitifully like a dog that lost favor. I waited and waited. I didn't expect to fall asleep waiting. Luckily, Gideon's muttering was still there, which meant the mistress hadn't left yet. I shouldered the chopping knife I had prepared earlier at the door and rushed out. Dare to cheat behind my back? Huh. Where is the person? Looking left and right, there was no one. Only Gideon holding a bucket, squatting next to a pile of green plants. Did they run away? There was talking just now. They definitely couldn't run far. I was just about to chase out when Gideon grabbed me. Poppet, what are you doing in the middle of the night? Go back inside quickly, it's cold outside. Hearing his voice, my nose felt sour for no reason. Like swallowing a lemon, even my stomach was churning with acid. Gideon, you bastard, actually finding a mistress behind my back. Just got together and you're like this. Is it that once you get it, it's not sweet anymore? Seeing me cry, Gideon quickly hugged me. Explaining with abnormal sincerity. I have you. How could I look for someone else? No one compares to you. I cried loudly, making a scene. You're lying, Hick, there obviously is. Every night you meet him her here privately, whispering, don't think I didn't hear. Because I was crying too fast, I couldn't help hiccuping. I even blew a big snot bubble. So embarrassing, I cried even harder. Gideon felt slightly helpless. I really didn't. Actually, the one I was talking to is. The system? It turned out Gideon was bound to a system. As long as he completed tasks, he could obtain drought-resistant and high-yield grain seeds. With these seeds, the famine disaster of today could be solved. And also, we could return to the original world. I finally learned that Gideon was actually that annoying arch-rival of mine. That day was my 20th birthday. To prove I was an adult, I secretly went to a bar to go clubbing with my bros. Gideon unexpectedly popped up. Even more unexpectedly, an accident happened. The two of us rolled down the stairs together and even locked lips. Then we dazedly transmigrated to this hellhole. I glared at him angrily. It's all your fault. If you hadn't popped up, we wouldn't have rolled down the stairs and wouldn't have transmigrated to this place. By the way, what is your task? Mentioning this, a suspicious crimson crept up Gideon's face. We can go deeper into that later. With that, he quickly turned and slipped back into the room. In less than a breath, he ran back, hoisting me onto his shoulder with one hand. Back to the room, sleep. Half a year later, Gideon's cultivation was successful. Through a recommendation, he presented it to the current emperor. The Son of Heaven was greatly pleased and ordered planting throughout the country. In just 1 year, all famine problems were solved. Task completed, and with the system's help, we finally returned home. Waking up in a hospital bed, seeing my parents and brothers guarding my side, my tears fell instantly. The first time being so far from home, suffering so much hardship, I felt wronged to no end. I hugged them and cried a storm. Then asked anxiously about Gideon. How is he? Is he back? My eldest brother said proudly. Don't worry, he'll definitely wake up. I used the company's latest developed technology on him. My second brother also raised his chin. And my carefully cultivated good seeds gave them all to him. That kid got a bargain. So it was eldest brother and second brother who helped us return, but why not give the system to me? That way I could at least be a lord in ancient times, instead of letting that guy Gideon get the benefit. My eldest brother knocked on my forehead. With your inability to tell grains apart and your laziness, you farm. It'd be hard for you to even feed yourself. Gee, what's so great about that? Actually looking down on me. Gideon woke up later than me. My brother said it was the system overload, consuming too much of his energy. I waited by the hospital bed 2 days early. Only on the third day did I see him open his eyes, and my heart finally settled. secretly wiping the corners of my eyes clean, just as I was about to tease him for being a lazy pig. I was pulled into an embrace by Gideon. "You're okay, that's great." His eyes held the joy of regaining something lost. I pushed him away, huffing proudly. "This is the modern world. We are arch rivals. Don't think about touching me again. My brothers won't let you off." "Unless you tell me, what was your system task?" Gideon laughed. "I told you I'll tell you when we're in bed. Fuck, actually playing mind games with me. Want to bang? No way. Also, you're not allowed to call me Poppet anymore. It sounds prone to make people think crooked thoughts. What if I want to call you that? Then I'll change my name." I smiled and looked out the window. The sunlight was warm, the breeze gentle. The weather was just right.